Hi, everybody. It's Marc Laurenson here. Thanks for joining me as we look at August of 2025. And what I'm going to be doing in this particular clip is I'm going to be looking at two of the asteroids that are coming together quite closely. And the asteroids are something we don't talk about all that much. But when they come into tight aspect with each other or with another planet, in the sky, sometimes they can actually become rather intense in our lives. And so I want to talk about the two asteroids that are doing that this month. So the asteroids are going to be Juno and the asteroid Vesta. So they're coming very, very close to each other, and they actually come into conjunction with each other halfway through August, and they're going to be in the sign of Scorpio as well, which adds a little bit more spice to what's going on with those two. But before I do, I just want to talk about the asteroids on the level of what I'll be doing in this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful retreat that Maurice Fernandez and Lisa Jones and I are going to be having in Bali at the end of October. And I'll just give you a little idea around what that's going to be like because it's going to be quite amazing. And here it is. This is going to be the hotel that we're going to be staying at. Isn't this amazing? We're right on the beach here. Oh my God. So I'm guessing you're all thinking, oh, I need a holiday. I really need to get away. I need to find somewhere beautiful and exotic. And I need more astrology. I want much more astrology in my life, and I want to combine them both. So this is the way to do it. Come to Bali, October 25 to November 1, where Maurice and Lisa and myself, we will be doing this wonderful, wonderful week of astrology, and you'll be amongst like-minded, wonderful astrologers. And you can just talk astrology all day. And as I said, look at this incredible, incredible location, way outside of the touristy area of Bali. And I'll just go back a little bit. There's all the information, aquariusrising.net.au. So the info at aquariusrising.net.au is the email if you want to register. And there's also the WhatsApp number there as well if you want to contact Lisa and talk about a few things as well. So here is the program there so you can get a good idea of what we'll all be doing. Maurice is going to be doing some amazing stuff on Jupiter. I'm going to be doing the asteroids. Also going to be looking at the nodes in synastry. And Lisa's doing some great stuff on transits as well. So there's the man himself. There's Maurice. That's what Maurice will be talking about. Okay. He's mainly focusing on Jupiter and all the different ways we can understand Jupiter and bringing Jupiter to life in a grand trine, because we're going to be having the grand trine with Jupiter involved as well. There's yours truly. I'm going to be talking about the asteroids in the natal chart and how to really understand them in a reading context. And I'm also going to be talking about the nodes when they hit another person's planets and vice versa. Lisa, as I said, is going to be talking about opening the gifts from God, working with transits. And why did I choose my chart? She's going to be doing a little bit of node stuff more on a soulful, sacred level as well. So here's some flight details, and here's the hotel itself. And we're going to get breakfast, we're going to get lunch, and we're going to get social events. There's social events involved, and we also have a day going out to one of the near islands as well. So, I mean, really and truly, This is going to be one of the best things for your year. So there's a handful of spots left. Um, it's just a matter, and I'll put the details with this clip, so you can contact Lisa and book your spot because yeah, it's going to be quite amazing. Okay, so let's get back to what I want to talk about for August. Now, these two asteroids are very interesting because they're very, very different to each other, but they actually do kind of cross through a line of commonality in a way because they both are very committed and devoted in their own ways. Now, Vesta, the Vestal Virgins, she is the goddess of the sacred flame. And the Vestal Virgin's job was to keep the flame going, in the town center so that the community could keep warm. And that's what they were devoted to. That was their job, and if they didn't keep that flame going, they would pay. They would pay with their lives. And so you can see how important this is, the need to keep the flame going within us, to keep our personal flame alive. So we don't freeze to death is so, so important when we're talking about Vesta. But Vesta is devoted, she's committed, and she's more devoted to something outside of ourselves as well. She's more devoted to a cause or a project or a venture or a vision. She has her eye on the prize on that level as well. And we have to be careful with Vesta because Vesta can actually get kind of myopic and she can kind of leave out a lot of really important things in her life, in her level of, you want to say, commitment to what she feels that she needs to do. Now, again, when we're looking at Vesta, it's a really good idea to be able to find stuff in our lives that we can actually put our resilience and our endurance and our determination into something that is going to light us up, that's going to make us feel alive and feel warm from the inside out. Okay, that's really, really important with Vesta. Now, Juno is a different kettle of fish. She's going down a different road. But Juno is the relationship asteroid. She was Hera. In Greek astrology, she was the queen. She was Zeus's wife, but she had to put up with a lot of stuff. And so again, we're talking about commitment again, and a level of of devotion. But I want to go down the road of saying that Juno was more kind of aligned with or more in tune with the vow. She was more in tune with the promise. She was more in tune with that feeling of her principles or her ethics. And she took the ring on her finger seriously, not so much for the partner, but for that part of her that felt like she had to live up to what she promised in a way. Now, again, this is not about staying in relationships that aren't working. This is not about putting yourself in dangerous territory because you've committed. But this is about a level of having to go through the ups and downs of what happens in the relationship areas of our lives. And sometimes people get out way too early. It's kind of a little bit like, oh, this isn't working, I'm getting out. But it feels to me that sometimes going into the rocky areas of of energy with each other is so, so important because this is where we learn. This is where we grow. This is where we become stronger. And I feel that Juno has a lot to do with that. So Juno and Vesta, two very, very different asteroids, as I said, but they are coming into a place where they're meeting, are going to be in Scorpio for all of August. Now, I just want to go down the road of giving you a little bit of timing with this. Now, at the beginning of August, they are 4 degrees away from each other. We have Vesta at 13 degrees of Scorpio, and we have Juno at 17. Now, by the 10th of August, they're 2 degrees away from each other. Vesta is at 16 degrees and Juno is at 18 degrees. And between August 18 and 23, they are exact. They're partile. They come into exact conjunction with each other at 19 degrees and 20 degrees. Those 2 degrees are at exactitude of Scorpio. And then they're between 1 and 2 degrees away from each other until the end of the month. Now, another thing I want to mention is the mid degrees of Scorpio. The mid degrees of the fixed signs are very, very strong. It's like the 0 degrees of cardinal signs, the 29 degrees of the mutable signs, very, very strong degrees. Now, the 15 degree of fixed signs is very strong. And so these asteroids are going to be dancing around that degree. Now, we're talking about the middle of fixed. We're talking about the middle of the season. So there's something very dug in here. There's something very, I want to say, very determined and incredibly resilient to get the job done at these particular degrees. And Scorpio is a sign that will not let go until it does what it has to do. Scorpio is about digging deep. It's about going right down until you strike oil, or blood sometimes, depending on what you need to go through. And when I say blood, of course, I'm meaning it metaphorically. It's that feeling of going to the nth degree, going to the edge of something. And so here we're talking about these two planets wanting to do this in in August. So what does this actually mean for us? What does it mean in our lives? Now, first off, just look at where you have the mid degrees of Scorpio in your natal charts by house. And that particular house, of course, will be the terrain of life that it will be playing out in. So take that into consideration first. But when we're looking at these two planets, we're looking at a level of devotion for a cause or a mission of sorts. And then there's a feeling of having to go through something in quite a serious way in the areas of relationship and how we deal with relationship. Now, this is not just relationship, on a personal level, your boyfriend, husband, that kind of thing. It could be all kinds of relationships. But Juno does play out in all different kinds of relationships too. But I want to actually say that it's going to bring up something because it's in Scorpio. It's going to bring up something for us in August. We're going to actually be focused on, or our emotions, our hearts are going to be pinpointed into areas where we're going to have to do work because Vesta is a very, very worky asteroid. We're going to have to do work on ourselves, particularly in the relationship areas of our lives. And I want to say it's going to have a lot to do with equalizing the value and the power you have with other people. And when I say equalizing, I'm talking about that level. It's a very eighth house kind of feeling. It's a feeling of you being able to find out where you probably may give your power away, where you lose control in these particular areas, where you allow other people in your life to get too much or take too much from you, or where you actually do it yourself, where you're the one who goes into relationship to get what you can out of the relationship. And you always know that when you do that, it always backfires. It always ends up with you on the receiving end of something of an energy that's not going to be good for you. Okay. So again, we're going to have to take a really good hard look at how we do this. And I want to say this is going to be a mission of sorts. This is going to feel a little bit like I want to bring the fire back into me. I want to keep me warm by the way I do relationship. And so your relationships or your relationships this particular month are really, really going to have the magnifying glass over them. Really, we're going to have to really take a good hard look at who we are in the context of relationship. And again, it's always going to go down the road of you feeling in a way that a lot of, a lot of stuff could come up. As I said, there could be there could be a lot of stuff, I've written down here. I've just written down a couple of pointers. Um, I've written down shadow stuff. I've written down shadow stuff, meaning Scorpio stuff, might actually come up to be addressed. And it might have a lot to do with, the areas of your personal control, the areas where you might be actually scared of somebody else and what they might do to you and how you might need to protect yourself. What are one of the big ones that could happen at this period of time is a compulsiveness or a possessiveness that might come up. You might be more on, might be playing out that vibration even more this particular month. That need to to focus on something within your relationship dynamic that you can't seem to get rid of, that you can't let go of. And maybe you might take that to the edge. Maybe this needs to actually go as far as can go until you actually realize I'm going to have to do something about this because this is about this isn't about you swimming right down there and then covering yourself with everything, covering yourself with all the what's down at the bottom of the ocean, so to speak, and then staying there, down there. It's about you being able to rise. It's about you being able to come back up again and to be able to transform, be able to change via this. So this could be a real big, big time for you to actually take yourself, as I said, take yourself to the nth degree in a particular area, particularly relationships, and then be able to, in your own way, be able to be like the phoenix from the ashes in a way, coming out the other side of something via what you might have to address or put yourself through. The truth comes in really strongly with this. Having to face the truth around your relationships, having to face the truth about how much you give, how much work you put into it, how much you allow, again, how much you allow other people to come in and do what they want with you or what they can with you. Now, the equalization of your power and your value with somebody else is going to be huge. It's going to be huge because we're always doing this. We're always playing in this arena. We're always giving away. We always feel that, we need something from them. There's something about them, that's more important than us or more valuable than us. And we've got to really step up. We've really got to get into the game. We've got to get into the mix of this. And we've got to realize I don't really need anything from you. I really don't. I love you and, I want to be with you, but I don't need anything from you. And I don't want you to need anything from me either. This comes into it in a big way because this neediness ends up as control and power issues. It ends up on that level of, who's got more, who's got less, who's more important, who's less important, who's valuable, who's not valuable. Those kind of really, really messy, messy games that get played out. And I want to say that this is beyond that. This is about being able to break through that, being able to break free from that this month. Because they're asteroids, you might be thinking, oh, but they're small, they're small fry, they're just playing out in the background kind of thing. And I want to actually say they're probably not going to be playing out as supporting characters as much as you think. Because of the Scorpio element, I feel is really, really strong. And I honestly believe that there's something in these particular asteroids that are trying to get through to us this month. Basically, as I said, on the level of us really taking a good hard look at ourselves, on the level of how we do relationship, how we do other people. Okay. And there's, as I said, there's a resilience with both of these asteroids. There's a sense of determination with both of these asteroids, and they're right in the middle of Scorpio, the fixed sign. So there is a feeling of getting the job done. Vesta is very getting the job done. She's very much about what you put into something. She's very much about the work that that we do, as I said, to keep our fire alive. And so that really becomes right up there. That right up there. Everything has to be done on the level of keeping our fire going. Because if we're not focusing on that, we're going to freeze to death, metaphorically. And we do. When we're not doing Vesta well, we freeze to death. We really, really do internally. And we can feel it. We know it when it's happening. And so I want to keep on, reiterating that this is such an important month on the level of what we do in relationship, being able to hold our own in relationship, be able to be as truthful as possible, being able to put our focus, our devotion, our determination, make it a mission of ours, make it feel a little bit like this is going to be my own personal workshop this particular month, because so much of our life can be ruled by other people. It can be ruled by how much power we allow them in our lives. And we really can't move forward all that well if other people have our lives in their hands. And so I want to keep on saying that this could be a time for all of us to be able to find ways of being able to come into a stronger and more, I want to say, a more sound and more um, it's that wonderful, wonderful feeling when you feel so safe in yourself, when you feel so secure in who you are, and you can march up to anybody in any way, and to be able to hold your own in such a way where you actually feel good about the person you are. And it's a little bit like you're lucky to have me, that kind of thing, without being arrogant, without being pompous or up yourself. It's a little bit like a feeling of you coming into a very, very sound place with what you truly believe is right in this particular area. So if we can, if we can in our own way, if we can really focus and dedicate ourselves and put our attention in that particular area for August, I feel that August will be a huge, huge stride in the right direction for us and in every area of our relationship life.